Tonight, we continue our series on RFL called When the Ends Don't Meet, Families on the Brink. It focuses on a problem that we now see in every county, town, and community in our region. Now, we're all familiar with the problems of poverty and homelessness. Now, you see examples of it every day. It's something that's easy to find, but it's also hard to solve. But we also know about the relative comfort and security that's part of being in the middle class. And even for people on the lower end of the middle class, the American dream is alive and well. But in between poverty and the bottom rungs of the middle class is a forgotten part of our community who, every day, struggle to provide the most basic of essentials. I'm talking about home, food, clothing, health care, and more. Now, they're getting by, but they are one problem, one extra bill away from losing it all. It's a group that the United Way has identified and called ALICE, people who work hard and make just enough to get by, but not enough to provide any real sense of security. And there are more in this group than you might expect. According to the United Way, between 31 and 44% of all households are in this precarious position. And they live in every town and every community, as I said, in our state, region, and in our nation. Well, tonight, our own Andrew Whitman, he shares his latest ALICE story as he profiles 21-year-old Sebastian Galvez. Andrew?
Well, Rich, Sebastian Galvez is a young man with a seemingly limitless future, a man I expect to see and hear much more of in the years to come. But it's not just his story we tell tonight, it's that of his family, of the American immigrant experience, and of what may be the new modern American dream, that with work, family, dedication, extraordinary sacrifices, and a lot more work, there is a path to the middle class if, as Sebastian has had, a little luck and some outside help that comes with it.
It's not that I'm in poverty or that I'm living end to end, but that I was, and that if you work hard, you stay focused, and you have a group of people that help you, you can definitely make it.
Don't think of Sebastian Galvez as a success story, at least not yet. The 21-year-old is instead a work in progress.
I'm working an incredible job at a great company, making really good money. And it's such an honor to be able to give a lot of that money to my family.
Sebastian's family came up a lot during our conversation.
I love my family, and the one consistent point in my life has always been my family.
Family and work. Of the 7 people who live in the Galvez home in Manville, New Jersey, only Grandma and Sebastian's 11-year-old sister don't have jobs, and most have more than one. How old were you when you first started working?
15.
What was your first job?
McDonald's. It was the McDonald's here in Manville.
Work has been a necessity in the Galvez family. Sebastian was born in San Salvador, but by age 4, his parents realized, for Sebastian's sake, they would have to leave El Salvador behind.
We were held hostage. They stole our car, they stole our possessions. By God's grace, we were able to be spared. But that's when we really realized that my mom thought, is this where I'm going to raise my son? And is this where I can actually give him all the opportunities?
They moved to Elizabeth, New Jersey in 2000. Sebastian's family did what they could to help him feel at home, and making enormous sacrifices that left the family just on the edges of poverty.
Back in El Salvador, my mom was a doctor's assistant, so she worked really, really closely in a hospital with one of the lead doctors. My dad was an electrician. But when we came here to the U.S., it was a big sacrifice for my family. My mom's first day, she went from working in a hospital with a doctor to cleaning out trash cans for a restaurant.
And they've been in lower skill jobs ever since. Meanwhile, life in Elizabeth presented other challenges as well.
A kid was trying to rob my cousin's bike, my little cousin. I ended up getting beat up for it, but the bike was safe.
So despite their struggles just to get by in Elizabeth, the Galvez family made a big decision. They would save $10,000 for a down payment on a home in the suburbs.
There were definitely times where I was able to eat and they weren't. There were times where they found a way to make ends meet. I don't know how. You
think there were some times that they skipped meals so that you could definitely make sure you could
100%. Eat? It was, we ate, we kept the lights on, we kept the heat on, and everything else we saved.
When Sebastian was 8, the family moved to their present home in Manville. At first, it seems like the home of any successful middle-class suburban family, until you realize of the 7 people living here, 5 go to work every day.
First years in Manville, my dad was working 2 jobs. So he was working 80 hours a week, and he did it for several years. My mom was working full-time, my aunt was working full-time, the kids were working part-time. We were at the point that if anyone had lost their job, we wouldn't have been able to make ends meet.
Enabling Sebastian to have a typical suburban high school experience, playing baseball and basketball, doing, in his words, pretty well in school, and of course, working.
So after I'd leave school, I'd sometimes go work a shift at a, Aeropostale in the mall, American Eagle, Quick Check, Weiss Supermarket.
Eventually, Sebastian realized to truly give back to his family and make something of himself, he would need to go to college. But college costs money.
It takes either a lot of debt or a lot of work. And I chose the latter. I chose the work. So after high school, we graduated on Friday. Saturday, Sunday was the weekend, and then Monday I started my full-time job in a cafeteria. And then I soon picked up another job, and then towards the middle of the summer, I was working 3 jobs. So I worked probably 6:30 a.m. to around 3:30, and then I would change my uniform in my car, and then go work 4:30 or 5 o'clock to around 10 o'clock at a gas station. And then the third job was on the weekends.
It was a way to make money for college, it just wasn't a great way to live.
I became really hateful for the world. I really hated the situation I was in. I blamed everyone for everything. If it wasn't that I was busy at work, I was thinking about how tough my life was, how much I hated my life. I think that was the toughest thing my parents had to encounter, was seeing that cycle, seeing that their son was now going through what they were going through. There were a lot of times where I would come home after, like a 10 to 14 hour shift, and my mom would open the door, and she would feel guilty. She would feel like she failed as a mom because I was going through that.
Sebastian graduated high school in 2014. A year later, he began part-time classes at Raritan Valley, but it took until the spring of 2016 for him to begin college full-time. And of course,
I would go to class in the morning, sometimes 2 classes in the morning, and then I would go home, change, and go to work. And then come home at night, do my homework, and then it was the same cycle the next day.
This past year, Sebastian's life has changed. He won an Alice Scholarship from the United Way. In attendance at one event was a representative from Johnson & Johnson who offered Sebastian an internship. He then converted that into a job. His plan now is to graduate Raritan Valley in 2018 and transfer to Rutgers, hopefully earning his degree by 2021.
It would be something that would be a first for my family here in the U.S. I always joke around with my mom that I want to get to the point where I can buy a house next to mine and have her live in it. That's the goal. It's not, cutting back on the work. It's her not having to work at all. It's my parents not having to work at all.
For now, Sebastian Galvez offers a word of caution for people who might overlook those caught between poverty and the middle class.
I think in today's world, the, image you could say of poverty is not the same as it was in our history. I think a lot of people that live in really nice communities on really nice blocks don't realize the struggle that families are enduring inside the house.
We will feature more and more stories like Sebastian's in the weeks to come here on RFL, and we also want to include you in our story. So we want you to join our ongoing conversation. If you're a family on the brink or just know of one, we want to hear from you. Also, your comments and reactions to Sebastian's story and any solutions you want to offer. Just head over to the RFL Facebook page. You can watch Sebastian's story again and share your thoughts. Rich?
Thank you very much, Andrew. We come back, something called zombie homes, building demolitions, a contractor controversy. Well, it's all happening in the city of Mount Vernon, and it's a local story you'll only see here and in the Journal News.